and this is just the gist of it. So this particular class, Rabidoviridae, it has these genera. So our rabies virus, which we will talk today, belongs to Lassa virus. So what is rabies? It's a disease caused by rabies virus, which is rapidly progressive. Um, it's a rapidly progressive acute infection of your CNS system in both humans and animals, and it is transmitted from one another by the rabbit animal, not dog, by animal. Okay, apart from dog, also one can get rabies, and it's very fatal disease. It shows 100% fatality. So if we go, history of rabies, it has been known since 1500 BC, and the name rabies has come from Latin word rabidus, which means mad. An important milestone which was achieved in 85 when the Joseph Bister, he uh, developed the first post-exposure prophylaxis, and which was given to a child who was beaten up at the multiple sites by the rabid dog. So that child survived later on. It's very common in Asia and Africa, and so mostly the cases are generally seen in children under the age of 15, and it is most commonly is by when bitten by the infected dog. So it's a zoonotic infection. You all know what is the meaning of zoonotic infection, and it is the virus maintained itself in urban cycle, urban rabies, as well as in jungle. There is a jungle cycle, sylvastic rabies. So the primary reservoir are the wild animals, the dogs in most of the cases, more than 90%. But other animals also can cause rabies, jackal, cat, monkeys, mongoose, and so on and so forth. So if somebody asks you, uh, we all know that dog because it's there in our urban society, but these are the other animals which are also responsible. So coming to the virus, it's a bullet-shaped virus, and it has a lipoprotein envelope. So it is envelope virus, and it has a 5 proteins, which is this nucleoprotein, and it has these spike-like structures called glycoprotein G. Along with this, there is matrix protein, and it has it's the RNA virus. It has unsegmented, linear, negative sense RNA virus. So important thing is that they have the envelope virus. That is why whenever one is beaten up by the dog, the first thing which we ask that person to do is to wash with normal soap and water, because virus will get killed, because it is envelope virus. So it will detergents and soap, they will act on it. So there are two types of rabies virus. We have the street virus and the fixed virus. The street virus is one which occur in natural cases, and the fixed virus, it is prepared in the lab by intracerebral passage in the rabbits. So street virus has a long and variable incubation period from months to years, and fixed virus has short incubation period of 4 to 6 days. Street virus is pathogenic to all, and fixed virus only pathogenic when it is given through parental injections of anti-rabies vaccine, which is if it is inadequately inactivated. Then street virus causes it multiplies in both neural and extraneural tissues. And your fixed virus, they don't multiply in extraneural tissues. A street virus, one can get infected by this particular virus by any route, whereas for fixed virus, it is through the intracerebral route. So this fixed virus, it's actually prepared in the lab. So that is why it is used in vaccines. It has short incubation period. We prepare it by intracerebral route. Then in street virus, we find these Negri bodies, which is a pathogenomic to rabies infection. It is an intracytoplasmic inclusion body. Whereas this is not demonstrated in your fixed virus. Then this is not used in vaccine preparation. We use the fixed virus for preparation of anti-rabies vaccine. So this is important that we have two types of virus, fixed virus and the street virus, and you may get a short note on this. So as I told you, rabies viruses are sensitive to common chemicals because they are envelope virus, so they are sensitive to ethanol, iodine, your soaps, detergents, ether, chloroform, acetone, and they are destroyed at 50 degrees centigrade in 1 hour and at 60 degrees centigrade in 5 minutes. So that is why we use soap and water, the first thing which we do. I'm sure you all are aware of that. So now coming to the major antigens of rabies virus, that is glycoprotein G and nucleoprotein. These are the major antigens. So the glycoprotein G is basically the spikes which are embedded. I showed you the picture. These are peplomers or the spikes which are embedded in the envelope. And nucleoprotein, they are the capsid protein which are sweated with your viral RNA, right? Then glycoprotein G is species specific, and nucleoprotein it's a group specific, and it cross reacts with that of other rabies related virus. So Lassa virus, it's a family, it's a genera in Rhabdoviridae. So apart from rabies virus, it has also rabies related viruses. You know, that group is also there. So nucleoprotein, it cross reacts with that of the other rabies related viruses. Then the role of glycoprotein G is in pathogenesis that binds to the acetylcholine receptors, which are there in your neural tissues. And this is the first step in the attachment of the virus. The first step in the pathogenesis, that is their attachment. Then nucleoprotein, they don't have any major role in pathogenesis. Then we can detect glycoprotein G. We can by heme inhibition test, which is obsolete now. So we can detect the antibodies in the patient serum by using ELISAs. Then antigen detections, this can also be detected where we can detect the antigen in patient serum by direct immunofluorescence test. So glycoprotein G, it induces neutralizing antibodies, right? So that is why we detect the antibodies in it. And these neutralizing antibodies, they are protective in nature. Whereas the antibodies which are produced by nucleoprotein, these are not protective. So glycoprotein G, they have role in vaccine is that a purified form of antigen. It can be used in subunit vaccine, whereas nucleoprotein, they don't have any role in vaccine. So these are the differences between the glycoprotein G and nucleoprotein. These are the major antigens of rabies virus. So now coming to the transmission of rabies. So main route is by bite. You all know that. By the bite of rabid animal, would be dog or monkeys or any other animal. And most frequently is by the deep penetrating wound, which occurs by bite, or it can be also by scratch, or if there is scratch or abrasion on the skin by the animal, or if the mucous membrane is exposed to saliva. So these are the main routes of transmission of rabies virus, and rarely they are non-bite routes also. Rarely it can be by the inhalation of aerosols or by ingestion of dead or infected animal meat. And very rarely it can also transmission can occur in case if in transplant surgeries. So these are the rarer routes of transmission, and these are the most frequently most frequent mode of transmission of rabies virus. So by the bite of an animal, by deep penetrating bite wounds. And on the basis of the bite, your prophylaxis also depend, right? Which I will tell you later. So pathogenesis, how the virus, it spreads. So bitten by the human dog, if the dog has to be infected with the rabies virus, right? So when the dog bites or the animal bites, the virus will replicate at the site of bite in the muscle and the connective tissue. It will replicate over there. Then it will travel up to your, it binds to acetylcholine, which are receptor present in the neuromuscular junction. And from there, it will spread into centripetally along the motor neurons. Then it will ascend to your central nervous system. It will infect, it will reach up to dorsal root ganglion, it will multiply over there. Then it will ascend up to your CNS, where it will multiply, disseminate to the hippocampus and the cerebellum. And after infection in the brain, from there, then it spreads to the other part of the body through centrifugal spread. So it will spread to your salivary gland, to your eye, cornea and other organs. So the dog will bite, the virus will multiply at the site of the bite. And from there, it will travel up to the dorsal root ganglion with the help of the neural tissues via neural nerves. There it will multiply again in the dorsal root ganglion. From there, it goes to the CNS. In CNS, it will going to multiply mainly in hippocampus and the cerebellum. And after it infects your brain, then from there, it will spread to the other parts of the organ, most commonly your eye, that is your cornea, your salivary gland, and skin. So these are the samples which we can take if the patient is suspected of rabies virus. So coming to the clinical presentation, incubation period is usually 1 to 3 months, but it may be as short as 7 days, and it may be as long as 3 years also. So actually the incubation period, it depends upon the site of bite. So it is shot in person, bitten on the face or head, because it is close proximity to the brain. And incubation period is longer in those which are bitten on the legs. The leg mein hai, to incubation period will be longer because the proximity from the brain is, it's far from the brain area. And if the person is bitten on the mouth, face, head, then the incubation period is short. So incubation period is variable. It can be as short as 7 up to 3 years. Usually it is 1 to 3 months. So their stages of diseases will be prodrome stage, the stage of acute encephalitis, followed by coma and death. So in prodromal phase, this phase lasts for a week. Here the patient will present with fever, headache, sore throat. Then there'll be anorexia, general symptoms, anorexia and nausea, vomiting, and followed by the anxiety, agitation, irritability. All your CNS manifestation will come into in the prodromal phase. There'll be neurotic type of a pain, and which can occur at the site of inoculation of the virus. Then the acute neurological phase. Here the patient will be hyperactive, show the bizarre behaviors. There'll be seizures, and patient will present with hydrophobia. In this, there will be difficulty in drinking water. They'll be together with intense thirst, and this is a pathognomic feature of rabies. So whenever the patient will try to drink, there will be a painful spasm of pharynx and larynx, which will produce a gagging or a choking effect. Uh, the patient will develop a dread of even the sight or the sound of the water. So the patient will have the hydrophobia. It is a pathognomic to your rabies virus, rabies infection. Then there would be convulsions and paralysis as well. So these are the neurological manifestation which one can see, which will occur in rabies. So this was in, and if not, then this will be followed by coma and death. So how the rabies it infects the dog, since this virus infects both animals and humans. So rabies in dogs, here the incubation period could be up to 10 days to 1 year. And the dog will present with alertness, the symptoms like alertness and restlessness. They'll be snapping at imaginary objects, licking behavior. So these symptoms you will find in the dog. And it has a prodromal stage which lasts for 2 to 3 days, where the dog will present with these symptoms. So, but in dogs, it will, the neurological symptoms they seen are basically of two types. There will be furious rabies, which is a commonmost symptom, and dump rabies. So this furious rabies, which is seen, the neurological manifestation which is seen in dog, in this both they last the stage lasts for 3 to 5 days, and here the dog will be will bite without provocation, will be hyperactive. The lower jaw will droop, and saliva will drool, and the dog will run. It easily will bite. But dump rabies is here the dog will become docile, unable to feed. So these are the two types of. This is how the rabies infect the dogs. It will either will present to the neurological manifestation as furious rabies or as dump rabies. And both the dogs, the rabid dog, as I said, it usually dies within 3 to 5 days. So whenever one is beaten up by the dog, it is advised to keep a watch on the dog. If the dog dies within 3 to 5 days after beating, the patient, it bites the person, then the dog is infected by rabies virus. So we ask, we keep a watch on the dog for at least 10 days. Now coming to the lab diagnosis. So clinical presentation, it leads the clues in diagnosis. So in most cases, human rabies is diagnosed primarily on the basis of clinical symptoms because it has specific clinical symptoms. So signs and symptoms. So, it can be diagnosed clinically. And with a corroborative history of evidence of an animal bite or a bite of an animal or incomplete or no vaccination following exposure. So these clinical presentation one can easily diagnose human rabies. But laboratory diagnosis can be done, which includes detection of rabies antigen, virus isolation, serology, and molecular methods. So what are the samples which we will take? We can take saliva, then serum, CSF, the skin biopsies of hair follicles at the nape of the neck. As I told you, that virus, after multiplying in your brain, it spreads to the various sites. So these are the sites which you can take. It spreads to the cornea, so you can go for corneal scrapings. It spreads to the skin, so you can take the skin biopsies of or the hair follicles at the nape of the hair follicles at the nape of the neck. Then obviously CSF, then the serum sample can be taken, and the saliva. You can detect the rabies in the saliva as well. So since these are the modalities of detection, we can detect the rabies antigen, or we can, like in any other viral diagnosis, we can detect the antigen, we can detect the antibody, we can isolate the virus by culture, which can be egg inoculation. Or so here also these modalities remain the same. So we can detect the antigen with the help of immunofluorescence, and here the antemortem samples which we can take are corneal smear, skin, saliva, skin biopsy and saliva, and post-mortem sample is specimen which we take is the brain biopsies, and we can do the direct immunofluorescence, which is done by using anti-rabies serum tagged with FITC. So we can see this fluoresce images in the with the help of a fluorescent microscope. So we can detect the direct, we can detect the antigen by direct immunofluorescence. Then we can also isolate it. We can isolate the virus. So we can do it by animal inoculation. Here we use mouse. We inoculate the mouse through intracerebral route into the, we use suckling mice, and this will eventually lead to the encephalitis and death of the dog. And this mice, we will examine it after the death and or 28 days post inoculation, and we will look for the Negri bodies. So Negri bodies, as I told you before, it is a inclusion bodies, intercytoplasmic inclusion bodies. Inclusion bodies as such is a short note question. So very common question which comes in the exam. And a Negri body is pathognomonic to rabies. ठीक है, और ये वाइवा में भी बहुत पूछते हैं, वेरी निगरी बॉडीज या व्हाट इज इंक्लूजन बॉडी व्हिच वी सी इन रेबीज, or Negri body, what is a Negri, you can get a short note also on Negri bodies. Or we can either, after inoculation the animal will die, ठीक है, उसके बाद उसका इंट्रासेरेब्रल ब्रेन निकाल के उसमें हम Negri bodies आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हैं, और we can go for immunofluorescence or rabies antigen. So these Negri bodies we can detect in brain tissue. We generally, it is detected in hippocampus region of the brain, and we can detect it by using cellular technique. Here we make impression smear of the brain, and we stain it with your basic fuchsia and methylene blue in methanol. So they will appear as a eosinophilic, sharply outlined bodies, inclusion bodies, which are found in the cytoplasm. So these inclusion bodies called Negri bodies, they are 100% diagnostic for rabies. So if it is there, then it is like the patient infected with rabies, which is 100% diagnostic. But this particular inclusion body is only found in 20% of the cases. Okay, so Negri body is very important. So another picture, this is the sharply outlined eosinophilic structures, inclusion bodies, which are seen in rabies. They are intracytoplasmic, right? If you recall your inclusion bodies, they are intranuclear होता है, intracytoplasmic होता है. तो inclusion body ही important question है, please read it. Then apart from this Negri bodies, you can isolate. You all know that we can use various cell lines, and the most definitive cell lines are, cell line itself is also, viral cell culture itself is also a short note question. Okay, so we can isolate. If you recall your general virus lecture, virus can be grown by, we can do egg inoculation. So this is, egg inoculation is not done in case of rabies. उसको हम कल्चर कर सकते हैं सेल लाइंस में, बहुत सारे वायरल सेल लाइन से, इफ यू रिमेम्बर कंटिन्यूस सेल लाइंस एंड ऑल, और या हम एनिमल में, we can grow it. So we can isolate in cell culture. Then in cell culture we look for the cytopathic effect, but cytopathic effect is minimal. Minimal in case of rabies. So we generally diagnose it by the immunofluorescence. So if you remember how you diagnose the viral infection, there is, by cytopathic effect, by immunofluorescence, need to recall. So if you remember the basic diagnosis of a particular disease, so you can easily formulate your answers. If you remember the main gist point in any particular virus, this is how you can formulate your answers, right? Then serology. It is useful in vaccinated individuals to know the antibody levels. Most common tests which are done in mouse infection, neutralization tests, rabies, fluorescent inhibition test. These tests can be used to detect the antibodies, which is generally useful in vaccinated individuals. Now we have enzyme immunoassays also, which are the preferred method, easy to do, which are available to detect the antibodies level. Then molecular methods, we can go for PCR, detect the specific gene of the virus. So this was all about your diagnostic part. Now coming to the prevention, so and control, first thing is to avoid the contact with the wild animals. Then do not handle the dead animals. People who work with wild or domestic animals, they should be vaccinated. Then the vaccination of domestic and reservoir wild animals is important. The dog or the pet which we keep, that it should be vaccinated. Then the control measures required to prevent the population of stray dogs. So prevention of human rabies, there are guidelines. We all know that we get a vaccine. There's a vaccine available. Give me a minute. So coming to the prevention part, it is prevented by providing a prophylactic measures. So we have post-exposure prophylaxis and pre-exposure prophylaxis is there. Okay, as the name suggests, post-exposure, that after getting exposed, we have a prophylaxis for that, and we have a pre-exposure prophylaxis as well, which is given in individuals who are in the veterinary, to the vets who work in close contact with the animals. Sorry. So PEP is post-exposure prophylaxis. So sometimes you can get a question also, directly write short note on PEP. So you should know what is PEP. ठीक है, PEP क्या होता है, PPE क्या होता है, personal protective equipment, PEP post exposure prophylaxis, PEP of HIV or PEP of rabies. You can get a question like this. So you should know what is PEP. So post exposure prophylaxis for individuals who have not received the prophylaxis previously. पहले prophylaxis नहीं मिला, and if they are beaten up by the rabid animal. So उसमें हम क्या, what we will do is, we first thing will do the local wound care, right? We can give the rabies vaccine depending upon we categorize it, the risk, and we have rabies immunoglobulin as well. So these are the three component of post-exposure prophylaxis. So we can categorize, these are risk characterization and recommendation of anti-rabies prophylaxis by WHO. So which is categorized into category 1, 2, and 3 on the basis of risk and the type of exposure. And what are the prophylaxis which is recommended in particular category. So in category 1, this when there is only touching and feeding of animal, and if there is only lick on the intact skin. So here it has not exposed to the mucous membrane. There is no scratch. There is no blood, exposure. So the risk is there is no risk. So it will come under category 1. And here no treatment is needed if history is reliable, right? So this is important. This table is important. You can get a question on, when the question will come on prophylaxis for rabies, and you should memorize it. Memorize this, and otherwise also people very commonly ask you that from where to get the vaccine and should, now what is the risk and all, because rabies is 100% fatal disease. Okay, so that is why if anybody is beaten up by the dog or any animal, then one has to, depending on the risk, vaccine लगाना तो बहुत जरूरी है, timely vaccine. So category 1 में there is no risk when there is a touching or feeding of the animal, licks on the intact skin. No treatment is required if history is reliable. Then category 2 is a minor risk when there's a minor scratch or abrasions without bleeding or nibbling of the uncovered skin. So in category 2, we will do the wound management. We'll give the rabies vaccine and we observe the dog for 10 days. Okay. Then category 3 is there's a major risk when there is, the bite, single or multiple transdermal bites is there with the oozing of blood. If there's lick on the on the broken skin, if there's a fresh wound hai aur uspe lick kar diya, or dog mein mucous membrane hai, abraded skin hai already, exposed mucus hai, wahan pe, the dog licks, then it is also come under category 3, which is a major risk. Or if there is direct contact with bats or wild animals. So in category 3, we do the wound management. We give the rabies immunoglobulin, ठीक है, and we give the rabies vaccine as well. तो तीनों चीज देते हैं इसमें, wound management करेंगे, vaccine देंगे, plus immunoglobulin देंगे. और dog को या the animal को, dog को generally, because it's urban animal, so we will observe the dog for the 10 days, because generally the dog is the most common animal by which we are exposed to. ठीक है, so ये बहुत important है, and please you need to memorize it. So according to the risk we give the prophylaxis. ठीक है, and ये components है. So coming to the local wound care, first and the foremost is we do the physical cleaning. You can use the since it is enveloped virus, so sensitive to your detergent, soap, alcohol, so on and so forth. So we can use the antiseptics like povidone, iodine, alcohol. This will inactivate the residual vaccine virus. So सबसे पहले यही बोलते हैं ना कि जब dog, when one is bitten up by a dog, wash that area with soap and water. That is the first thing which has to be done. It should be done immediately. ठीक है? It should not be delayed. Otherwise, the virus will start multiplying. It will there on the wound, then it will penetrate down, and so you need to do this as soon as possible so that you can remove the residual virus, to inactivate them. Then suturing causes local tissue damage. So suturing is not recommended. It should be avoided because it will help the virus to penetrate. Then other general measures, which include debridement of devitalized tissue. Then tetanus prophylaxis is also given whenever one is beaten up by the rabies rabid dog, along with the treatment of the rabies. One has to be given the tetanus injection as well, tetanus prophylaxis. So antibiotic treatment is required to prevent the secondary bacterial infection. Okay. Then do not touch the wound with bare hands, and do not apply, soil or lime or leaves, so on and so forth. So this is all about the local wound care. It's very important. You should all know this. Because rabies is very commonly seen disease. Time and again, we all hear someone is beaten up by the dog. So very commonly, the prevention part is very important for a question, for Viva, for everything. Okay. The people will come and ask you what is the treatment, how to go about it, where you can get the vaccine as well. You should know. Now coming to the vaccines, the first vaccine was prepared by Pasteur by drying of various pieces of spinal cord of rabbits infected with fixed virus. Okay, and he injected the vaccine to the 9-year-old boy, and the boy was saved. So this was the first vaccine in 1885 for rabies by Louis Pasteur. So these are the various vaccines. So vaccines are generally divided into neural and non-neural. So neural vaccines pehle aati thi, which were made from infected sheep brain, and but these vaccines, they are no longer used. Neural vaccines, they are not used now. We have the non-neural vaccines, which are prepared in your egg, duck egg. It is prepared by fixed virus grown in duck egg. Then it is activated, but this has also been discontinued. Then we have this chick embryo vaccine, low egg passages and high egg passages. This is a live attenuated vaccine. And we have the tissue culture vaccine, which are used in, these are the vaccine which is used for humans, human deployed cell culture vaccine, purified chick embryo vaccine, and purified viro cell vaccines. So ये नाम याद होना चाहिए आपको vaccines में. Which are the tissue culture vaccines, and the subunit vaccine as well, in which we can make use of glycoprotein, surface glycoprotein, which are in the experimental stage. So vaccines, it can be given by intradermal or intramuscular route. And the deltoid area of the arm for adult, the site, or the anterolateral area of the thigh. So the gluteal region is to be avoided. The dose, one intradermal dose is 0.1 ml of vaccines, and one intramuscular dose is considered as an entire vial of vaccine. So if you're giving intradermal, you have to give 0.1 ml, or if you're giving intramuscular dose, then we take it the whole vaccine. Then the schedule of PEP regime is, it is a cost-effective, intradermal regimes are cost-effective, dose sparing and time sparing. So this is the regime. Intradermal PEP regime is 2-site. Intradermal vaccine is given on the day 0, 3, and 7. And the intramuscular regime is where total 4 doses are given. 2 schedules are available for the intramuscular. First site intramuscular, one site, if you give on one side, then we give on 0, 3, 7, and 4. ये आपको याद करना पड़ेगा. I mean, there's no logic in it. You have to memorize it. And if we are giving 2-site intramuscular injection, then it is given on day 0, and 1-site intramuscular injection is given in 7 and 21. Then PEP for individual were previously vaccinated. So if the person is previously vaccinated and again beaten up by the dog, so they need a local wound care and an accelerated vaccine regime consisting of any one of the following 3 schedules. So one site intradermal vaccine is given in 0 and 3 days, or we can give one site intramuscular vaccine, which is given on day 0 and 3, or the 4-site intradermal vaccine, which is given on day 0 only. Okay. So you just need to remember that intradermal de sakte, intramuscular de sakte, and there are various regimes. So you need to memorize this regime as well as the days. Kis day mein dete hain. You need to memorize it. So I'm just telling you what is, these are the regimes which are there available in the WHO. Then these are the vaccines. So we have this Rabipur vaccine, which is there. And these are the various vaccines: purified cell culture vaccine, purified viro cell culture vaccine, human diploid cell culture vaccines. These are the various vaccines which are available. So we have this Rabipur vaccine commercially available for human use. So this was about vaccine. Then third modality kya tha? We can give the rabies immunoglobulin. Okay, and it provides a passive immunization. It is given in category 3. ठीक है, मेजर रिस्क में वूंड क्लियरिंग हो गया, तो वूंड साइड पे आप इम्यूनोग्लोबुलिन दोगे, रेबीज इम्यूनोग्लोबुलिन, और उसको वैक्सीन दोगे. ठीक है, सो वी गिव दिस पैसिव इम्यूनाइजेशन बाय न्यूट्रलाइजिंग द वायरस. So it basically will neutralize the virus. So it is given only once, and it has to be given as soon as possible and not beyond day 7 after the first dose of vaccine. So we have this human the preparation which is available for immunoglobulin, or human rabies immunoglobulin or equine rabies immunoglobulin. Equine वाले में sensitivity ज़्यादा होती है, but for human RIG, and maximum dose is 20 national units or 40 international units for equine as per the body weight. So what about the pre-exposure prophylaxis? It is given 2 conditions. Pre-exposure कब देते हैं? Or when those individuals who are, there's a high occupational risk, or in the subpopulation where there's remote, in remote endemic areas. So in these 2 conditions we give pre-exposure prophylaxis. जनरली वेटरनेरियंस होते हैं जो कॉन्टैक्ट में आते हैं, उनको जनरली जिनमें ऑक्यूपेशनल रिस्क है. So it can be given to all ages. There are 2 schedules available, 2 side intradermal schedule on day 07 and 1 side intradermal schedule is given on day 0. 1 side intradermal vaccine to given on day 0 and 7, and booster can be given for lifetime protection. So what about vaccine in dogs? So we all know that a pet should be immunized. So all dogs should receive primary immunization at 3 to 4 months of age, followed by the booster as per the type of vaccine available. And most commonly vaccine which is used in dogs is BPL inactivated neural vaccine, so oral recombinant glycoprotein vaccine which can be used in the dogs. So this was all about the rabies. Okay, rabies as such is a very important topic. And we have this World Rabies Day on September 28th. Okay, so it is a very important topic, and you can get a long question as well, that you can get a question on vaccines, on a treatment part, on prophylaxis part. You can get a question on Negri bodies. You can get a question on lab diagnosis of rabies as such. So it's an important topic. Please don't skip this topic. Right now, coming to the slow viruses or prion diseases. These disease, they causes chronic degenerative degeneration of CNS in humans, and these are caused by the slow or constant persistent infection. Persistent infection. The term slow virus refers to the tempo of the disease, not to the growth rate of the virus. So these diseases, they have a prolonged incubation period, which can be last from months to years, and they have a protracted progressive clinical course. So what are the characteristics of the slow virus diseases? They have a long incubation period from months to years. They're long-lasting. Illness is long-lasting and with no recovery, and they don't show any inflammatory degeneration. Basically, they will show the non-inflammatory degeneration of CNS. Is absence of immune response is seen. There's no effect of host B and T cells. They do have a genetic predisposition as well as the fatal termination. So these are the slow virus and prion diseases. These are the slow virus. So slow virus में conventional basically the slow virus, these are caused by some conventional virus like your measles virus, GC virus. So these progressive multifocal leukoencephalopathy and subacute sclerosing panencephalitis, which is caused by measles, and progressive rubella panencephalitis. These are the human infection which are caused by the slow viruses. Now the prions disease, the Kuru disease, CKD disease, these are common diseases which are caused. So these are the disease which is caused by the prion virus. Okay. Then it also causes infection in animals, sheep and goat like scrapie and bovine spongy encephalopathy, so on and so forth. So this progressive multifocal leukoencephalopathy, it is caused by polyoma virus, that is your JC virus, and here there will be multifocal areas of demyelination which is seen all throughout the brain, along with the deformation of both astrocytes and oligodendrocytes. So as I told you, it is a neurodegenerative disease in progressive multifocal leukoencephalopathy. You will see there will be demyelination of the which is seen in the brain. Then the most important risk factors are it is common in AIDS patient, in 80% of the AIDS patient. Then other causes are hematological malignancies or transplantation. And the patient will present with visual defects, mental impairment, weakness, and so on. So coming to the Prions disease, these are basically infectious this was just 2-3 slides in slow virus diseases. Now coming to the Prions disease, these are the infectious protein particles that lack a nucleic acid, any nucleic acid. The term prions refers to the abnormal pathogenic agent that are transmissible and are able to induce abnormal folding of specific normal cell called prion proteins that are found in the brain. So we have this protein in our brain, and these viruses, they change these proteins into some abnormal form. Okay? And these abnormal proteins which are formed, they damages the brain and show the characteristic signs and symptoms of the disease. So these prions, they are basically infectious protein particles that lack any nucleic acid. So they don't have any nucleic acid. And these viruses, they are filtrable like viruses, but are resistant to the wide range of chemical and physical agent of the sterilization. And there are several prion diseases of animals and humans which are there. So Stanley got a Nobel Prize in 1997 who discovered these prion particles, these proteinaceous infectious particles. Okay? So these are proteinaceous infectious particles, not the virus as such. So they lack nucleic acid, they are proteinaceous infected particles. But they are filtrable like viruses, and they also show resistant range of reasonable. And we use, there's a different method, different temperature for the decontamination of these prions as such. So what is the mechanism of the disease? The following infection, the infectious particles, protein particles, they get carried to the brain, and they induce a misfolding of your normal cellular prion protein to the disease-causing isoforms. Okay, we have these proteins, normal proteins, which are there in the brain. They change the conformation of that and form those isoforms, and that will lead to disease of the CNS system. So these proteins, these abnormal proteins, they aggregate as amyloid-like plaques in the brain, and they are internalized by neuron accumulated inside the cytoplasmic vacuoles. So they give a spongiform appearance because they get internalized by the neurons and accumulate inside the cytoplasmic vacuoles, which give a spongiform appearance. So there's certain differences between the prion proteins and your prion particle, scrapie. So PRP is basically prions protein cellular. It is your normal isoform which is there, and PRPSC is basically prion protein scrapie. Scrapie is a prototype of prion disease. So that is why the name is given PRPSC. C stands for scrapie. So PRPC is a normal isoform of prion protein present in man and animal. This is prion protein that causes prion disease in man and animal. And these prion proteins, they are elongated polypeptides, and they are rich in the alpha helix and has a little of beta structure. So these scrapie prions, they are globular polypeptides, and they have more of beta structures than the alpha helix. they are anchored, the normal forms, isoforms, they're anchored to the cell membrane and they are in the cytoplasmic vesicles. That is why they give appearance of spongiform. They are sensitive to protease, they are resistant, and the turnover is in hours, whereas this will in days. So this is the difference. So how these diseases will present? They have a long incubation period, longest being 30 years, but once the disease sets in, the progression is very fast. They have a prodromal stage which will last for 3 to 5 months, followed by loss of muscle control, shivering, myoclonic jerk, tremors, and death occurs within 1 year of onset of the disease. So these are the risk factors. It could be autosomal dominant, then sporadic is the most common. We seen then the heterogenic, which can occur by exposure to the prion contaminated tissue during medical procedures. So if there's contaminated instrument which are used, then one can get these prion proteins. Then by eating infected beef product containing these proteins, prion proteins, then cannibalism is one ritual which followed in Guinea. The tribe is one tribe which follow this ritual, and they are found to be infected with this disease. So prion disease of animals is scrapie, which is a prototype of prion disease, and this disease has been extensively studied. So there is a natural scrapie disease and experimental. So this is a disease of animal. Then there's a mink encephalopathy, then bovine spongiform encephalopathy. So these are basically disease of animals. Humans may Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease is most common, and here the patient will present with dementia myoclonus, and death will occur within a year of onset. So there are type of CJD disease, which could be classical sporadic type, then the familial heterogenic, and there is a variant form also, which is there. So the usual means of transmission is not known, but most cases they are sporadic, and there is no evidence of direct person-to-person transmission is seen. It is mainly transmitted by medical manipulations, generally in corneal transplant or dura mater transplant, or use of improperly sterilized equipments in neurosurgery. And there is a variant of the disease, which this variant shows more of a psychiatric symptoms. This is the difference from the main your GCD, CJD disease. This particular variant shows more of a psychiatric manifestations, psychiatric and sensory symptoms. And this can be detected in lymphoid tissues. Then this is another disease known as Kuru, which is found in a 4 tribe of in New Guinea. And it is related with the ritual of cannibalism, that is brain, the particular tribe, they eat the brain. And this particular term literally means shivering and trembling. It is a progressive cerebellar syndrome, which is accompanied by a dementia. And the patient will present with cerebral ataxia, tremors, and so on. So then these are the plaques which are seen in cerebral cortex, the Kuru plaques. So how we will diagnose this disease? We can measure these protein, abnormal isoforms by immunoassays, specific immunoassays, which are diagnostic, definitive or diagnostic, or we can look for the neuropathological diagnosis, right? Pathological diagnosis kya hai? So every disease, not every disease, some disease cause particular pathogenesis, particular change in the tissue, pathology mein pada hoga. So इसमें particularly आपको spongiform degeneration and astrocyte gliosis दिखता है. So this is more, it is this particular pathology is seen in case of this prion disease. Then we can sequence the gene, or we can detect the disease by abnormal encephalogram, because it's infecting your neurogenerative brain, causing neurogenerative changes. So the EEG will be abnormal in these patients. Then treatment, no known treatment or therapy is available, and some drugs have been tried to eliminate this protein, but they have failed so far in India. Now the decontamination part, you need to remember that this particular protein, this particular infectious particle, prions, they are very resistant. They're extremely resistant to most of the common sterilizing procedure. So sterilization का कभी भी question आएगा या whenever it is asked in the viva, so some examiner may ask you that how to decontaminate the prions, you know. So this is a little different in this because they are extremely resistant. So recommended method for sterilization of material contaminated with prion proteins. So we do, if instrument is decontaminated, surgery is done on the patient with prion disease, तो उसको कैसे decontaminate करेंगे? We will not decontaminate autoclave by using, that temperature which we use. You all know that. So we use a different temperature in this. We autoclave it at 134 degrees centigrade for 1 to 1.5 hours, or we can treat it with 1% normal NaOH for 1 hour, or we can use 0.5% of sodium hypochlorite for 2 hours. The prions, if found bound to the stainless steel, should be treated with an acetic detergent solution prior to the autoclaving, rendering them susceptible to inactivation. Okay, so this is different. A decontamination procedure is different for prions disease. You need to remember this as well because this is a good viva question. And if you get a short note on prion disease, so you can write on decontamination part, and you can write about the diseases. You can get a short question on this. So bas yahi hai. So you need to remember that it causes degenerative disease. They are animal cause infection, animals as well as humans. Humans की diseases याद कर लो. Animal में scrapie है. Then what are the isoform change होता है? Small answer is good enough. So I will end my lecture here. Thank you. It's already 1.